Today I'm going to make sure that you never spend money that you can't afford to spend, including giving gifts or loans to your kids, or going on a great vacation, or buying a new car or a house. Even if you have the cash in your account, it doesn't mean you can always afford to spend that money. Now, if you spend money that you shouldn't, you might go broke down the road, of course. On the other hand, if you don't spend on things that you can afford to spend money on, you could be giving up some potentially life-changing experiences. So we're going to find the balance today. The first question that you have to ask is, do you have the cash either in the bank or in your investments? For our purposes, I'm going to assume that you do have the cash available. Next, ask what impact spending that money now will have on your financial security over the next 3, 5, 10 years. Are you saying yes to that gift or car or investment in your children now and saying no to retirement security in the future? In other words, for many people, they don't face the fact that spending money today is a trade-off for future financial security. And because our brains are wired to always opt for immediate pleasure, our inclination is to buy today, sacrifice tomorrow. The only way to determine if you can afford an expense now is to run some projections. In prior videos, we've discussed how to figure out what it costs you to live, and we've also shared how to create your own financial plan. So make sure to subscribe so you can see those videos and future videos. With those two pieces of information, you can find out how a major unplanned spending decision could impact your financial life sometime down the road. You just rerun your plan showing the reduction in assets and see what the likely outcome might be under this reduced set of circumstances. I know of a couple that really wanted to help their daughter with a gift of over $200,000 to start her business. It was understandable. Who wouldn't want to help their kids if possible? Well, we ran the numbers and it turned out they could afford to give their daughter the money even if she didn't repay them. The problem was the daughter's business ran into trouble, and a worse problem was the couple kept giving her more and more money. At the end of the day, they gave their daughter over $650,000 and she was unable to repay it, and they couldn't afford to live without that money. Because they made those loans without running their numbers, this retired couple had to go back to work. They had to sell their home and downsize just to stay afloat. Bottom line, taking a big chunk of cash out of your assets that you are counting on to pay for your retirement is a risky move, and you shouldn't do it. If you run out of money because you want to help your kids or do something else, guess who's going to have to support you when you're broke? In other words, you might not be doing yourself or anyone else, including your children, a favor. Now, there are ways to make up for large withdrawals. Can you make up for the reduction in assets by spending less for a few years? Can you invest differently to make up for the shortfall, to make the money you do have work harder? Can you pick up side gig income for a couple of years to replace the income that the spent money could have provided? Is it possible that the kids will actually make payments to you if you loan them the money rather than give it to them? Can you give them less than the entire amount they wanted and still help them without ruining your own financial future? You can see that there are many potential workarounds. So I want you to play with these inputs and see how they impact your potential plan. It could be that by making other small changes, you can still have a secure retirement future while still making this gift or spending the money, but you have to run your numbers. Here's what I'm really trying to say. When you consider spending a large amount of money that was earmarked for retirement or other goals, you have to consider the consequences. What's going to happen? If those consequences are small, talk to your financial advisor and go for it. What's the harm in that? If the consequences are great, you have a couple choices. Either don't do it, say no, or make some financial changes and compromise other aspects of your financial life to make this decision make sense. You have these options. The option that you don't have is to ignore the financial fallout and go ahead because it just feels good. That's not an option. Many times we've seen people do things that feel good in the moment, only to pay dearly for those temporary feelings, sometimes for decades into the future. Sometimes their kids have to pay the price as well. We've seen these mistakes cause affluent retirees to lose it all, have to go back to work, have to give up their home, move to a small apartment, just like I discussed. The sad thing is, they wouldn't have had to do this had they simply taken the steps we've discussed here. So in conclusion, I want to ask you a couple questions. Are you thinking about spending a large amount of savings? Are you concerned whether or not it makes sense? Do you think that the steps that I've discussed with you can help? Do you have any other ideas that might be even more helpful? Make sure to subscribe below so we can send you additional ways to safeguard your financial future, and make sure you post all your questions below.